Good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to share with you a little bit more information about what we talked about on Sunday, wrestling with the Word. This is a topic that I care deeply about. I love it. I think it is absolutely central for the Christian life, for growth, for hope, for all the good things. So, I wanted to follow up with one question that you may have had, and that is, what do I do if I read a text and I just don't know how to go any deeper with it? Sometimes texts are quite simple. Love your neighbor, or something about anger. And you might think, oh, I have a problem with anger. And it's not very hard to think deep about it, to apply it, to think about the various ways that our life may be affected by the verse. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult. Well, I'd like to teach you a little model that someone taught me, a pastor, several years ago, that helps us know what to do with applying Scripture when it's not as easy as that verse that Jesus says about taking a speck out of your eye. You know the verse. I don't have the memory of the reference off heart, but you know how it says, don't be judgmental, don't be a hypocrite. If you've got a plank or a speck in your own eye, deal with that first before you talk to another. So sometimes it's not so obvious as a plank, a speck in the eye. And so let's use the acronym SPEC in order to think about the different kinds of verses. So here's the acronym, SPEC. S. Some scriptures will be about sin, S. Those ones are pretty obvious. Those ones tell us something that we're not meant to be doing. Now, what's not obvious to us always is whether we may be guilty of that particular sin. So, for example, I mentioned anger. To dig deep and wrestle with a text about anger or any other sin, what we want to do is read the text, say, Lord, I believe this principle, I trust your word on this, and I pray, oh Lord, asking you to show me if anger or whatever other sin is an issue in my life. Wrestling means taking the time to think about it, to pray about it. Maybe we'll think through our relationships, because that's where anger would show up. So wrestling is thinking, okay, my parents, my spouse, Lord, help me see, my coworkers. And again, wrestling is simply taking the biblical principle and thinking and praying deeply about how it may apply, and being open to the fact that perhaps we don't even see it, but the Lord does. So, SPECA, number one, sin. Secondly, a scripture may not at all be about something like that. Might be something very positive. P is a promise. I said positive, but it's promise. Maybe there's a scripture that's a promise. Could be any promise. So again, do we just read that and say, oh, that's nice, and then go on? No, again, wrestling means, okay, a promise. Whatever that might be, I am with you always is one of the promises. So to wrestle is to slow down, say, what are the implications of this promise for me? If I really believe this to be true, how might it affect my life? How should it speak into my life? Again, same thing, slowing it down, praying about how it intersects with us. So sin, promise, spec, the E is similar. It's encouragement. Maybe it's a word or an example that encourages us. What do we do with that? Well, again, that's a great opportunity for praise. We read that text about whatever the word or example of encouragement might be, and allow it to touch our heart and to turn that back into thanksgiving to God. Encouragement. The next one, speka, it's not a tricky, it's a C and a K that's next. So C is a word of command. So love your neighbor. Again, sometimes these commands aren't so obvious. So it's the same principle as before. Slow down, say, Lord, I think I do love my neighbors, but help me to see, is this true? Think about your neighbor. Okay, well, Johnny over there, ooh, I guess I kind of ignored him last year, and I guess I've kind of been given a little bit of sharing some angry thoughts towards Betty, and you get the idea. Is there a command that you haven't really thought through about whether it might affect you? Slow it down, pray. Finally, the K of spec, a word of knowledge. Maybe you're reading through the scripture and it's not a practical teaching, it's not a particularly encouraging one, but maybe there's just a teaching about God, or there's an example given by David or whoever, Methuselah. And it gives us an insight into ourselves, a word of knowledge, or an insight, a word of knowledge about God, about the world. So these ones can be a little trickier, but again, same principle. Slow it down. Maybe the word of knowledge has to do with God's sovereignty. And so we consider once more, what are the implications of the fact that He is a sovereign God? Reflect on it. Pray on it. So when you don't know what to do with the scripture, think about that. Spec. Nearly every verse can be aligned to one of those. There's the sin, the promise, the encouragement, the command, and the word of knowledge. But the key thing to them all is the time, the willingness to not only think through it and pray, but to believe it and to trust it, and then to ask God what to do next. One little tip for you. Hope that's helpful. May the Lord bless you. We'll talk to you soon.